Think then, if you will, or try to think, of yourself sitting on a bank where the water moves, not as a stream moves, but as time itself might move if it had weight and color and a smell of ancient unwashed earth. You sit there and you feel a peace, a slow and shimmering resonance that you call love, or perhaps just a respite from the frantic, ticking clocks of your own life. And you look at that water and you realize, with a shock that is like a cold hand pressed against the small of the back, that the river does not know you are there. It does not know, and, more than that, it would not care if it did. It is a blind, brown, liquid God, surging not from a sense of direction, but from the sheer, intolerable necessity of its own weight, moving toward a sea it has never seen and does not need to believe in, utterly oblivious to the small, fragile, upright dramas we call our lives, our morals, our certainties. It is this same river, this old man, that William Faulkner summoned from the mud of 1927, not as a setting, but as a protagonist that does not speak, does not feel, and does not relent. Consider the tall convict. He is a man who had sought and found a peculiar gray monastic bliss within the walls of a penitentiary. He loved the prison, not for its cruelty, but for its clockwork. He loved the ledger, the high walls, the numbered days, the way a man's life could be reduced to a simple, unchangeable account, where if you did this, then that would surely follow. He craved the human-made certainty of a cell because the world outside was too vast, too shimmering, too full of the terrible risk of choice. He was a man who wanted a master, provided the master had a rule book he could memorize. But the old man, the river, does not have a rule book. It has only a current. And so the levees break. The earth becomes a soup, a viscous, churning chaos, and this man is thrust out into it in a skiff, a tiny, hollowed sliver of wood, with an order: rescue a woman from a cypress tree and a man from the top of a cotton house. He goes because he is told to go. He is not a hero. He is a clerk of his own fate, trying to fulfill a contract with a state that has already forgotten him. And then the river strikes. It does not strike with malice. Malice requires an awareness of the victim. It strikes with the casual, heavy indifference of a turning sleeper. He finds the woman. She is pregnant. She is heavy with the future. She is clinging to a cypress limb in a world that has become nothing but gray water and yellow-eyed snakes and the screaming of the wind. In any other story, in the stories we tell ourselves to keep the dark away, this would be the moment where the man's soul expands, where he discovers a noble purpose. But Faulkner's convict is too busy for nobility. He is too busy fighting the primordial isness of the flood. He delivers that baby on a mound of mud and snakes. He fights alligators with a dull knife, not for glory, but because he has been tasked with returning a boat and a woman to an authority he still believes in. He spends several weeks in a realm where time has ceased to be a sequence of hours and has become instead a single, long, gasping breath of survival. He sees the deer and the snakes and the humans all huddled together on the same shrinking island. The ancient hierarchies of predator and prey washed away by a brown, swirling indifference that does not care who is good or who is innocent or who is hungry. And then the water recedes. The old man goes back to sleep within his banks, leaving behind the silt and the rot and the man who refused to drown. The convict finds a deputy. He does not ask for mercy. He does not recount his Herculean feats. He stands there, sun-blackened and tattered, still clutching the gunwales of the state-owned boat, and he says, "All right, yonder's your boat, and here's the woman, but I never did find that man on the cotton house." Can you hear it? The absurdity? He is apologizing for a line item on a ledger that the river has already erased. He is trying to force his several weeks of cosmic terror back into the small, neat boxes of human duty. He wants the world to make sense again. He wants the certainty of his all right to be met with an all right from the world. But the world, the human world this time, mimicking the coldness of the river, does not work that way. The authorities, confused by his return and annoyed by the paperwork of a man who was supposed to be dead, simply add 10 years to his sentence for attempted escape. It is an outrage. It is a joke. It is the final proof that our human systems of justice and morality are often just as blind and indifferent as the flood itself, only without the river's majesty. And what does the convict do? When the warden tells him his life has been stolen by another decade, he does not rail at the sky. He does not demand to know why. He has been to the river. He has seen the old man. He has learned that the shoulds and oughts of the world are merely thin paper walls we build to hide from the wind. He simply says, "All right." He accepts the absurdity because he has seen the reality. We spend our lives, most of us, terrified of that indifference. We want to believe that if we are kind, we will be spared. We want to believe that the weather of our lives is a reflection of our character. We want the river to know our names, but there is a profound, echoing freedom in realizing that it does not. To embrace the indifference of the river is to be released from the crushing burden of being the center of the universe. If the river does not care if you are good or bad, then you are free to be good simply because you choose to be, not because you are bargaining for a dry path. You are free to paddle. You are free to do your duty as the convict did. Not for the reward, because there is no reward, but for the sake of the doing itself. So when you sit by your river, or when the floods of your own life rise until the landmarks of your certainty are gone, remember the tall convict. Remember the old man who just is. Stop asking the water to justify your life. Stop demanding that the universe sign your ledger. Just look at the brown, surging weight of the world, and look at the small, sturdy boat of your own spirit, and say as he did, "All right." Because in that all right is the only true peace we will ever find, the peace of a man who no longer needs the world to make sense, because he has finally learned how to flow.